Hey, what's up, my cool cat writers? Today we're going to be using sensory details. We talked a little bit about a mini lesson yesterday of what exactly is a sensory detail, but a review is that it's any word that helps the reader see, hear, touch, smell, or taste a subject, a noun in your writing, person, place, or thing. So today you're going to be creating some sentences that incorporate those sensory details by composing a narrative in your writer's notebook. So let's look at this sentence right here. I want you to tell me, does this show or tell you as a reader? I walked into the cave. Okay, what do you think? I'm thinking this is definitely more of a telling sentence. I don't see anything about this cave. What does this cave look like? What does this cave sound like? Do you smell anything in this cave? Hopefully, you're not tasting the cave. Uh, you might, I don't know. But what does it feel like when you're walking around in the cave? What do you see? So, how can we think of these words? So, start thinking of some words that you might associate that are sensory words with cave. You may go with dark. You might say, I'm going to type these. You might say that it's large. We might go with that it's rocky, that it's cold. You can go off with cold. You can say it's frigid. Let's think of some sounds you might hear. There might be an echo. What are some things that you might smell? You might smell sulfur. You may see bright lights. It might be impossibly large. All of these things will help you paint some of those sensory images into your cave. So I rewrote this sentence I want you to see. Take a look at these caves. Okay, some of this is, I think this is Carlsbad Caverns on the top right, if I'm stand correct. But when you first read I walked into a cave, you probably did not imagine these as your caves. I mean, look at some of those amazing things. That cave on the bottom right lights up. It's got bioluminescent um, abilities. I never saw a cave that lights up like that. That's amazing. And look at those stalactites, are the ones that hang from the top, and stalagmites um, are on the bottom. I always remember stalactites is top, stalagmites is bottom. Don't ask me why they have two words. It's something interesting. But so this is my revised sentence of I walked in a cave, which was a telling, not a showing sentence. Let me show you what I saw. I dove deep into the mysterious cave and discovered bright neon lights, spectacular stalactites, and glassy rivers. So some of the sensory words in there that really help you show um, deep makes you think of that. That's, you're going into these caves, right? Bright neon lights, spectacular, we could say stalactites, right? Spectacular stalactites and glassy rivers. You know what a glassy river looks like. So this is what you're going to be doing today. You're going to complete an organizer that looks like this of your favorite food. If you need inspiration, go grab something. Take a bite of it. Feel it. What does it look like? What does it sound like? What does it taste like? You're going to add those words. And then when you have those words, you're going to write a short narrative that uses that food as a plot element. It includes the sensory details from that organizer. And at the end, you're going to change the name of the fruit to another word to make it a silly story so we can guess what fruit or what food, I should say, not just fruit, you could do food, is a part of that narrative. Your narrative doesn't have to be about the food, it could include the food. What I'm asking you is that you have to use some type of sensory detail to help us guess that response. So let's look at my food of choice. I'm going to pick red as my color because I'm going with an apple like I did for you earlier. So apple. So what does an apple smell like? Well, an apple really doesn't have a smell. It might smell earthy. I'm going to go earthy as its smell, maybe. Ah, it's back to pink again. Not that I have anything wrong with pink, but we need to do red for apple. All right, friend. I want red. What are you doing? Okay, I guess it's gonna be pink. Oh, it's up here. So I'm gonna go earthy as my smell. What does it feel like? Apples are smooth, right? They're also round. You can go with that what that looks like. It definitely looks round. It's definitely red. It's definitely bright. No one picks a dull apple. What does it sound like? Well, it's hard to tell you what an apple sounds like, but some words that I might think of if I, as Jack would say, yeet that apple. If I yeet it across the room, which means throw it across the room in a very exaggerated motion, you might hear a thump or a thwack. You definitely hear a crunch when you bite into an apple. So those are words that I could use for sound, the signal sound, and taste. I think most apples taste sweet or sour. We know that they're very juicy. So all of these are words that I could include in my narrative. Didn't take me long. If you have a favorite food, you already know the sensory details. You can add those sensory words. Some of them might be a little challenge. If it's a challenge, discuss it with the teacher that you're working with. Hey, Miss Atkins, I'm really not sure what an apple smells like. What are some words that I could use to figure that out? And that is learning. You know, asking for help is not a sign of weakness. You're not expected to know everything. You're expected to just go through the process. And this is the process. Try to come up with one for every of those. So, I came up with one. Let's see if you can guess what. Well, you already know it's an apple, but I think you'll get an enjoyment of reading the story anyway. So this is what I expect. Your story could be about a person that uses some kind of food item that you're going to substitute a word out, but we're going to just be about the food item. Mine's about a person with the food item in it. As I sat there bored in class, hearing my teacher go over the longest division ever, I began to feel a rumble in my stomach. I reached into my bag and grabbed the bright red waxy poodle. I sniffed the poodle. It didn't smell like anything. I decided to take a big bite and crunch! The sweet, juicy flesh shot across the room. This amazing poodle was picked from my grandfather's poodle tree. If you came up with something like this, one, I would be laughing. Two, it would be meeting the expectations that you have a food, that you add sensory details and you change the name. And three, it'll be really entertaining for the reader. So I substituted the word apple for poodle. You can do any word as long as it's school appropriate for whatever food item you picked. Because when we come back and share our work, we are going to guess. So really, if you substituted the word apple for all of these, that was my true story. My suggestion is to write it first, then substitute the word. Write it first, then substitute the word. Write it first, then substitute the word. Do not get tripped on substituting this into some crazy Mad Lib funny story. You'll get there. Just do your narrative first with the sensory details. So let's look at my sensory details that I integrated from my organizer. Not all of them, but some of them. So a rumble, that's a different one. In my stomach, that's not even my topic, but it's still a sensory detail. Grab the bright red waxy apple. I sniffed the apple. It didn't smell like anything. I could have put it smelled earthy in there. Maybe I'll edit that and just write earthy in there next time. Just put it earth there. I decided to take a big bite and crunch. Crunch is another one of those. The sweet, juicy flesh shot across the room. This amazing poodle was picked from my grandfather's tree. I could even talk about the tree with sensory details. I could say the gigantic tree. Any of those work. That is your task today, writers. So good luck. Make sure that you fill out this organizer to help you first identify the words and then draft your narrative. I'm hoping that I get a minimum of 2 sensory details, and that means that I should have at least 4 sentences in this paragraph, this short narrative. If you go more, great, but at least 4 is what we're expecting. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Can't wait to read what you come up with.